Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel. As part of a recent sizable delivery, I got in Sensuikan, Japanese Fleet Submarines in World War II by Compass Games. This is a Kickstarter I backed a few months ago, and it looked like Japanese the Hunters, so we're going to crack this open and see what we've got in here. First, let's look at the back. And yeah, looking at the back, it's looking even more like Japanese the Hunters. Japanese Fleet Submarines, 1941 to 45. Japan started World War II with 64 submarines. Of these, 21 were obsolete and would be of little use except for training. Still, with over 40 first-line submarines, they posed a significant threat to the American Navy. Japanese doctrinal use of their submarines, however, never allowed them to fulfill their true potential. Forced into picket line duties, reconnaissance, and launching aircraft to bomb mainland America with little effect, the effort mainly dwarfed the meager results. It is interesting to think of what their submarine force could have achieved had it been wielded more like the U.S. Navy's. Japanese pre-war thinking was that the submarine's main purpose was to conduct surprise attacks on the enemy's main force, act as an advance force, and providing reconnaissance. There was never a focus on using submarines for what they do best, interdicting an enemy's line of communications and logistics by destroying shipping. Still, the Empire had big plans for their submarine force. Sensuikan, Japanese Fleet Submarines, 1941 to 45, is a solitaire, tactical-level game which places you in command of a Japanese fleet submarine from Pearl Harbor until the end of the war in 1945. After choosing a class, your mission is to conduct special missions assigned by the combined fleet. The players will take their submarine on assigned missions with the objective to complete said missions, as opposed to necessarily sinking merchant vessels, although that is sometimes an objective. You'll be advancing your crew quality and increasing your commander's rank and awards, all while remembering you have to make it home amidst diminishing odds of survival as the war progresses. Players will find it extremely challenging to survive an entire tour, at which time in 1945, if it's still alive, you will surrender at port, having done your part in the front lines. We're not going to go through all of that. There's actually a wall of text here that I didn't see. But, yep, there is a last line on here that should be accessible to those familiar with the Hunters or Silent Victory, such as I am. Anyway, let's crack this open. Get the shrink off. And we'll see what we've got in here. Alright, there's the shrink off. Let's pull the box lid off and see what we've got in here. Sequence of play cards always makes life very easy. Of course, baggies, dice, and everything in this blue, actually not everything in the plastic, but that can definitely hit the bin. We've got the rule book, which we'll give our cursory thumb through. We'll take all of this, we'll take this off. There we go. I'm going to have to garbage this out. Then we've got our Captain Crew Skill, not double-sided. Pearl Harbor map with Diego Suarez, a rare case where these are double-sided. Sydney Harbor, so it looks like Australia is going to be a setting as well. Then we've got Oregon, the Aleutians and Malaya, and the Panama Canal. Diego Suarez with Operation Divine Dragon 2, along with some special rules. Guadalcanal, which we've had a lot of experience with Guadalcanal. Then we started getting into the subs. The Sentaka class, available July 1945. And yep, definitely a lot of familiar... If you're an avid player of the Hunters or anything in that line, there's a lot of familiar stuff that you'll be seeing on here. The Sentoku class, available December 1944, going on 4-month patrols. Type B class, which is available in December 1941, 2-month patrols. Type A Modified, available May 1945. Then we've got our capital ship targets, depending on which campaign we're on, along with warships. Warship targets, which is a D100 roll. More subs. I don't know why they split it up like this. I'm actually going to do a little bit of reorganizing in here. We'll put the subs out of the way for the time being, as we've got the Type C class, available December 1941. Type B3 class, available July 1944. Type A class, also available from the jump, 2-month patrols. Type A midget submarine. The Junsen J2 class. Junsen J3 class. Junsen J1M class. Type C3 class. There's actually a lot of subs in this game. Kaidai KD3 class. Kaidai K4 class. I'll apologize in advance. I've talked about my Japanese before. My Japanese is actually pretty bad. We've got patrol assignment, along with attack versus aircraft and aircraft encounters. Our encounter chart. So yeah, definitely accessible to anybody familiar with the Hunters. Submarine School. Midget Submarine School, along with Kasumi Gaura Naval Air School. Small freighter targets. Large freighter and tanker targets. Pearl Harbor with Operation Divine Turtle. So this is probably the operation at the start of the war. Sydney Harbor Divine Turtle number 2. They scattered the subs in here, which I'm not crazy about, but there's worse things that could have happened. Kaidai KD7 class, available September 1942, and of course there's no space. There's no space in between September 1942. Minor detail in the grand scheme of things. Kurai Sen class. Kaidai KD5 class. Kaidai KD6. Midget sub encounters a net, along with midget sub events. Midget sub damage table. Torpedo deck gun to hit, and all the attack stuff that goes with it. Submarine damage listings. Attack mat. Japanese sub commander names if you want to get some flavor in your game. And I think that is one thing the Japanese did, was they'd probably list the surname first and then the given name. Some optional rules, but the random events, which are not. Kaiten encounters. Everything with the Kaiten from the looks of it. Aircraft display mat. The Kaiten display. Float plane encounter chart. And finally, the map for Ulithi Atoll. I probably just butchered the pronunciation of that. I think we're going to put that... Well, this is probably going to end up being a jumbled mess anyway, but I did want the subs together at least at the start, before I eventually pick a campaign, or before I pick a sub to go through. In here we've got this patrol log, and I'm so glad they went back to the regular paper for this log. That's the one thing that drives me nuts about Western Front Ace, is the log in there is just absolutely horrendous. I don't like that glossy paper at all, because it is very hard to write on that. The ink runs like crazy. I hate it. Then we've got the operations map, which that is not double-sided. We've got our two counter sheets. As usual, I'm not going to pull these out until I figure out how I want to deal with them. Then the back side of those. I will bring those up to the top though. I also have to be careful not to punch them before I'm ready for them to be punched. But what we're going to do now is get everything back in the box. And then we'll give the rule book our cursory thumb through. Ow, cracked my knee. The usual glossy rule book. And it's a compass laid out rule book as well. Of course, we got our introduction, how to play the game. The rule book isn't too terribly thick. And what are the ranks? Actually, I don't think there are any ranks here. Okay. Yeah, looking at this game, if you're familiar with the Hunters or anything in that line, you'll pick this one up pretty quickly. I wouldn't be too worried about this. Oh, here are the ranks. Okay. A little bit on the thicker side, but it's not terrible. Okay. Some optional rules as well, along with some multiplayer and tournament rules. An example of play, designer notes, bibliography, all that good stuff, and a rules index, which is always a great thing to see. But that is everything in the box for Sensuikan, Japanese Fleet Subs in World War II by Compass Games. I do have another product unboxing I want to get to, so I'm probably going to get to that real quick here yet this morning, while I've got the table empty before it turns into another baseball setup. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.